right, everybody. How's it going? Welcome in. Can everyone hear me okay? Because that is probably the more important question. Seems a little soft. Let me see if I can just go ahead and turn my volume here. Oh, there she goes. Suppose not. Okay, well, hopefully turn this up right here, and that should work, I think. How's everyone doing today? All right, Pale King, good to see you, dude. Congratulations, by the way. Let's see, Vito, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be working on a new unit for the Uroni faction, which are called the Shikigami. So, luckily, it's a swarm unit, which is pretty cool. Their lore is really neat as well. So, I think what we're going to do is, since they're kind of just like spirits, we can really go with whatever colors that we want. The primary colors they use in the official box art is kind of like these little red demon guys, as well as kind of like a paler blue gray as well. Not sure if we'll go for that specifically or not. I think the red kind of works pretty well, but luckily these are both pretty much just naked little guys, so it's not going to be that terribly difficult to jam on and get finished for this particular stream. Hold on just a second. I have some technical difficulties. Excuse me. Odd. Oh well. Okay. Illusionist is someone who's just starting the journey of conquest. I must say, this model is adorable. I know, right? I really like this one as well. I love the fact that they have like the Shikigami kind of coming out of the ground, which is kind of an interesting thing. And you can do a lot with that. You can honestly do kind of like a little magic rim around the sides there or something if you wanted to. I don't know if we'll get that far today, but who knows? We might. There we go. It should be a little easier to hear me now. Turn that down just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Very nice. Here we go. Perfect. Hey, Serena. Good to see you. How are you doing? It's quite impish, yet still intact with a Japanese origin taken on. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure what to think and how they would come out because excuse me, really the only Shikigami we've seen in the past, or that I've seen really, have been like those little forest creatures from Spirited Away, right? I apologize. I'm coming down off a little bit of being sick, so I still got a little bit of coughing. I'm gonna try to keep that to a minimum. How are you, friend? Doing well. Doing good. Excited to paint these guys up. I'm not entirely sure how we want to do them. I kind of like the idea of doing like some red and some blue, maybe even kind of like a green. We're definitely going to be going with a lot of green on the basing. And we kind of start out fairly red anyway on the base. So why don't we go ahead and do that? I'm just going to use some mold berry just to give kind of a dark purplish red on the base. think that'll be pretty easy. Serena, are you ready for Adepticon? Go ahead and use just a big old brush because we're just going to cover lots of ground over here. No? Not ready for Adepticon? What's coming up so soon? Let's see here. Oh, Damien is nowhere near done. I get that. I'm also behind on my painting, mostly due to having been sick for the past week and a half. But feeling better, which is good. Just have a bit of a lingering cough, which is a little annoying. Sounds bug going on. Glad you're doing better. Me too. Because a little rough. A little rough there for a bit. Okay, that might be a little too bright. I'm going to instead go with carnelian skin. I think that'll be a good... Yeah. It's kind of a reddish brown. I think that'll be fine. I still like to go with this, like, somewhat ethereal almost look with the Aroni. Very similar to how I like to do the Weavers. Because the Weavers are, you know, they live in these mysterious magical forests. And, well, technically the Aroni don't always. I feel like they should. In these kind of, like, mystical Japanese style forests, you know? Reminds me, it's not Japanese, but I don't know if any of you have seen a movie that came out in the early thousands called House of Flying Daggers. It's a drama romance, but it has some like action stuff in it. But they have this really awesome, these really great visuals for this like hidden bamboo forest. So what color should we do on these little impish spirits? Red seems to be the popular one. But we don't have to do all of them the same color. There we go. Okay, nice big brush. So the nice thing is too is he's got this mask on. So this guy has a mask we can play around with. Hmm. Let's see. We could do like for the big guy here, maybe blue. I think. Then be red for this little guy here. Um. Hmm. Maybe just go back and forth on the reds and blues. Okay, let's try that. All right, first we need a nice dark blue. Go with this Imperial Navy, I think. And I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of black just to make it nice and dark. Oh, actually, maybe we'll do just a quick little brushing over of... got some matte black there, too. You can mix that in with. But I think while the red on the base is still wet, go ahead and pop on some angel green just to kind of get the bottom of the... Whoop, that was a little bit too much. Okay, it's okay. To kind of take advantage of the red paint already being wet on there. And I'm just going to kind of dab this around a little bit. Is anybody else working on any other Conquest today? Did you see the announcement this past Thursday, though? We're finally getting a trebuchet. I remember when that was an April Fool's joke many years ago. I did not ever actually expect them to do a trebuchet. But I'm certainly glad they are. Okay, there we go. Nice greens on there. Okay. Switch to a slightly different. Nope, not quite. Actually, I want a thicker brush, but not too thick. Because we got a lot of coverage to do. We're going to size 4. All right, we got our Imperial Navy blue. Kind of do a bit of a almost a half and half mix of that and a matte black. We're just going all over this big boy. And again, we're just trying to go and to make something look really nice for tabletop here. This isn't going to be necessarily a competition level miniature. I just want to show off how we can get something done quick that looks good. Within an afternoon. And normally, I would advise if you're painting for an army to get all your units especially ones that use like the same color scheme. If you're doing like a very cohesive color scheme or something, um, try to get as many of them together and ready as possible, so you can kind of paint them one by one, or one color by one color. That's what I like to do personally. So, like, if I was painting multiple stands of the Shikigami, for example, I would go and try to have all of them ready to go and built and ready to be painted, and then paint them all kind of at once. So all the blue folks, so this guy's blue. I basically pick out all the blue ones and start doing all the blue stuff, and then I'll move on to all the red guys, and then as the colors move on, I just kind of block them off and do them each individual thing. Okay, digging that blue. Good start. Okay, so now do we do red for our main guy here? Definitely want to do red for this one down here. Hmm. We could go. I see mostly red for like Asian inspired demons. I do like the blue. Could go with kind of a grayish black for some of them. I still think we do this one red. Hmm. Actually, we could go for kind of a little pinkish of this little guy on top here. That could look kind of neat. Okay, I'm gonna take that mold berry that we had earlier, mix it with a little bit of black. I'm gonna do that for this little guy up here. There we go. Just group all these colors on as best we can. There we go. We kind of got this little pink little baby imp up here. That'll be good. All right, let's see. We're going for that, for a red on that one, so we can go with kind of a real dark red. We could start out with a purple. And that would have worked pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and go in with this Mage Cast Magenta, but it's gonna be pretty heavy on adding in some black to it, so it's gonna be very dark. Okay, so we got a nice purple, nice blue, kind of a little pinkish character up here. We might just leave this character kind of like gray. I think might be the move for him. And then this one in the back here could do kind of I kind of want to make him yellow. I think we'll go with that. That'll be interesting. It'll give us a nice kind of spectrum of funky colors for these spirits. Let's see. Now, the question is, do we do... There's lots of ways to do yellow, and especially going from something as dark as this, it's going to be a little difficult. So there are a few tricks we can do to get around that. We can start with a pink base, which will give it kind of a nice, vibrant warmth. Or we could go with kind of browns, which will kind of make them a little darker. Maybe we try the dark colors, I think. I kind of envisioning more of an orangish yellow, which would be good for the pink colors. Maybe we'll just go straight in with that mulled berry, I think. It's not quite pink. But we can work it up. Make sure we get in a little booty crack there. Has anyone watched the movie Sin City? There's that bad guy who was like a really bright yellow. It's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this dude and his like little creepy smile over here, his little pot belly. So the one downside to putting all this stuff on the base and painting it is hard to get your brush in there. So be aware, you can do that without gluing them onto the base first, and it's likely a good idea. Okay, that's be kind of neat. Now we're going to go with a dark gray. Probably this deep gray, I think, because we're going to kind of keep this one dude in the middle. I think we're going to keep him kind of a grayish color. Or maybe we could go with a green. Hmm. I like the blue, the red, yellow, kind of pinkish color up here. Green would be really the only color we haven't really done much. We already have green on the base. Hmm. I suppose. Hmm. Maybe we'll go with kind of a turquoise-ish. Maybe that'll be kind of neat. Let's try that. Just for that, I'm going to start out with a little bit of real dark green color. Because we can really do whatever colors we want, which is nice. Because these are just like little demons, right? So their lore is kind of interesting too. Because in the lore, the Euroni, all the Euroni are spirits that have kind of completed their eightfold path and have been able to corporealize, I suppose is the right word, into this world after years and years of trying. But the Shikigami, these little guys, not quite so much. They have not gained the strength in order to do it properly yet. But sometimes they're either summoned or able to kind of push through a little bit. And when they do, they are just kind of these weak little spirits. They still are here to help. Okay, I think this will work. Okay, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to try to add in a little bit of desert yellow into this guy's skin over here. I know it's going to be hard to get that pinkish color going. Okay. Now this is just a little bit of that mold berry mixed with that desert yellow. Which is working rather nice. Okay. Hey, Voxel, what's going on? How are you doing this weekend? All right, now let's start working up the skin color on the other folks. Going back in with that Imperial Navy color and adding a bit more of that in. He's got a big old head, so I'm not going to worry about coloring the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of stipple some of that nice bright blue towards the top. That's where the sun's going to be anyway. And on the ears too. As good as anyone is going to get today. That's fair. It is Saturday, so having the day off is always kind of nice. I wish I was a little more recovered from being sick the past 2 weeks, because it's a nice enough day. I'd love to go for a bike ride, but I'm not going to risk. Not going to risk that. There we go. Some nice blue coming in through there. Now we can start working on some red. We have this dragon red, which is what we're going to try to work up to towards the end. Yeah, the dragon red. But, oops, don't want to go straight into that quite yet. So we're going to mix it in with that really dark purple that we had earlier. Oops. Actually mixed too much. Okay, this should be good. There we go, not too bad. See, for this mulled berry, this is going to be an interesting one. Give this little kind of pinkish baby on top. We don't want to go with the, those are the airbrush. We can go with this pixie pink mixed in with the mulled berry. I think that's going to do it. But we could also go with this kind of barbarian flesh instead, which is kind of an orangish pink skin color. I think we might go with that. So we're going for kind of a paler pink, not quite a bright pink. Okay. There we go. So far, so good. Let's get a little bit of that turquoise color on the main guy in the middle. So we're going to use this Pharaoh Guard color, mix in with the black and uh, angel green that we were using earlier. Okay. And again, we're just trying to make sure these are kind of like the mid-tone, so you don't have to cover every single inch of everything. Kind of keeping those really dark colors in there for some strong kind of contrast shadows. Here we go. Okay. Now we can start working up some good colors. I'm going to work with these two yellows. I think Demigod Flames and Demonic Yellow. Demigod, just for this guy in the middle there. Okay, so we'll start with the Demigod Flames because they're a little darker. I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller brush as we start getting into some of these details now. And yellow is really hard to paint in general because it's very transparent. Just be aware you're likely going to need a few different coats. And again, getting the brushes in here is a little difficult, but I recommend painting them before you glue them on the base. But for demonstration purposes, we want to try to get as much done as quickly as possible. So Don't want to get in on the blue there. Hey, Varlo, what's going on? You feel better already? How's it going? Not too bad. We're just working on a bunch of different colored Shikigami, and I am in the recovery stage of being sick, so still a few coughs here and there, but otherwise not too bad. How are you doing? We what was I gonna say? At the end of this, we're going to be showing off the winners for the Weaver Quartz painting competition that was done online. I'm excited about that. Although they've already been announced, so you may have seen them already. But just in case anyone hasn't, we'll show them off anyway. Okay, I do like that little guy being in yellow over here. I think that's a strong move. All right, let's work on the blue. Enjoying your new 3D printer? Ooh, very nice. I need to finish printing off all the Conquest terrain. Hey, Gilded Brush, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Okay. Excuse me. So we're just still a little bit in the recovery stage, but we're getting there. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, this is going good. Lots of funky little colors. Let's see. We can get some nice bright colors going on here. Gotta make sure to highlight that belly. Good old belly button there. Going for this kind of turquoise-ish color for this one. And again, remembering not to go all the way to the end of one thing or another. Because if you go all the way into where the recesses are with this highlight, then you're going to put highlights in the recesses. And then it's not going to show up as a highlight. And there's one thing I always constantly have to remind myself too. Is just, make sure not to paint the entirety of a surface with the color. It doesn't feel correct. We're kind of fighting our own natural perception of light and trying to implement our own. Make sure we got them toes. Okay. Hey, Falling Freely, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. And Danny, are you feeling better? I am feeling better. I got a bit of a cough still left, unfortunately. I'm doing my best to stave away. But aside from that, feeling much better, especially from last week. Last week was kind of killer. This is the sickest I've felt in a very long time. But it's getting better. How are you doing? You prepared for Adepticon? Wolf Gray. That's not as blue as I was hoping for. Is Abyssal Blue? Hmm. You're a bit pale. This Crystal Blue, however, is pretty good. Hey, must have recovered. Me too. It was one of those types of things I was kind of excited because I was like, well, at least I'll get to maybe do some work, because I'm going to be off work, so maybe I could get some hobbies time and stuff done. I wish I could have, but I wasn't even like feeling that good. I was just kind of sitting and staring and trying to not be in pain. Hey, Bug King, good to see you. Visioning models, stressing. If I enter for one, maybe next year. That's kind of how I feel about it. I have two things I'm trying to get done for it. One is one I like really want to get done. I've been working on building this Weaver's army, which has put a lot of stuff kind of on the back burner. And honestly, I'm glad I'm painting today and in general because I've been kind of itching for more competition painting. New mind workspace for this year. So I started working on one. It was the bus that they make. Um, and I got it last year at Adepticon, so I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to paint it anyway, so may as well try to get that working. So hopefully I can get that finished. We shall see. Racing to finish Golden Demon. Unfinished Monument Comp. The Monument competition isn't going to be until 2027. Just as a heads up. They announced it in preparation for next year. So if you're going to prioritize some, I would suggest prioritizing not a Monument Hobbies piece or a Monument um, competition piece. Okay, where is this other turquoise? The Aqua Alchemy. Okay, now we need to start getting into the smaller brush sizes. I think this will do it. The Roman astronaut challenge. Oh yeah, I like the astronaut challenge a lot. I've never done it, so it's something I've considered trying to do, but I haven't gotten quite there yet. Hey Ian, how's it going? Good to see you. Cap is cap of 300 inches. Oh, I didn't realize that. I can't say I'm terribly surprised. This year, that is. See, I heard that they weren't doing their competition until next year, though. Might want. I guess I'll have to double check and look. Because the announcement for their thing said 2027. Comp. Not till next year. This year's supposed to be more fun. Ah, I see. Then there's. If they are doing something this year, then sadly I'm not going to be done in time for it with anything that I can think of. I suppose I could enter stuff that I've entered before. But I don't like doing that quite as much. Like, I don't mind touring pieces around. I think that that's perfectly acceptable. Um, but I give it like a year. Like, when you finish a piece, tour it around for a year, you know, take it to different competitions, you know, do as much as you can with it, and then hang it up. Be done with it. That's kind of my philosophy on it. Unless it doesn't win something, then you can always like alter it and whatnot, and then enter it again later on. Then I don't think that's a big deal. MMA Cup teaser challenge this year. What does MAA stand for? Oh, miniatures art. I see. That makes sense. You have a whole bunch of conquest dioramas and stuff I've been wanting to do. Excuse me. But I'm hoping that I can finally get them done and enter them into that for next year. New version of the Tea Party in this art for it. Nice. More trees. Gasp. That's fair. I'm really hoping that Army Painter does another Armies on Parade because I'd really like to paint up my Weaver Courts and do like an Armies on Parade challenge competition thing. I think that'd be really cool. All right, some demonic yellow for our yellow guy over here. I suppose calling this demonic yellow really is fairly fitting, huh? Here we go. I love this little yellow guy on the in the bottom corner there. I am very happy with that color choice. Got to make sure we got good solid butt cheeks there. Yeah, you gotta get cheek this. Cedra, how's it going? As the player had the albino dinosaurs. Oh, awesome! Thanks for the input on. No, I can't wait to incorporate into my Sorcerer Kings. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they turn out. Very excited indeed. I appreciate you popping in and saying hi. It was awesome to meet you in person. Looking forward to coming back down again next year, hopefully. A couple of new booties for the run. I know, right? There's at least two, three. There we go. I made Miss New Betty Boop pop in my head. New Betty Boop. Wait, there's a new Betty Boop? All right, let's get a little bit of this flesh color. This is kind of pinkish, isn't it? Miss New Booty is a song. Found you, Miss New Booty. Get it together and bring it back. Huh. Well, today I learned I'm really bad when it comes to being on top of popular music. Unless it manifests itself in meme form or something like that. Came out to that. Ooh, well, I definitely do not recognize it then. It was so long since I thought of Miss New Booty. Hasn't been very long for me. In fact, having just discovered it. We're getting there. Oh. Okay, pretty good there. Do this blue. All right, it's a little strong, but we can get a wash on there and kind of clear that up a little bit, which is fine. I think all we really need to do for most of these is kind of do some final highlights, then a wash, one more section of highlights, and then we'll be mostly good. Now we just got to do the mask. So we're getting there, slowly but surely. But let's go ahead and take just a quick little fiver, and we will be back to work on finishing those highlights, and then we'll get the basing and stuff all settled out, and then get the mask done, and then we'll start putting the details like the eyes and the horns and things like that too. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Okay, back at it again. All right, we got some solid highlights going on for a lot of these. We can do more. So why don't we go ahead? I'm I like using speed paints to kind of blend stuff in. So why don't we try doing that, huh? Pine Wolf, this Beowulf blue is pretty good, I think. That may work. Gotta get my little speed paint palette over here. It's a little pink, but that's my bad. Yeah, it's a little dark, but I think it'll be okay. Mix in a little bit of water with it. Okay, putting those speed paints down. And really all it's going to do is going to just kind of help blend things out a little bit for us. And obviously over big giant surfaces like this, you have to be real careful. With the speed paints or contrasts or whichever you fancy. There we go. It's obviously very wet right now, but once it dries, I think it should provide a nice blend for those really strong highlights we put on there. I'm going to do something similar. I think with this plasmatic bolt speed paint we're going to do over this kind of greenish turquoise-ish color. We can hopefully get those to blend together a little bit easier. Because it looks fine right now. It's got, strong shadow, mid-tone, highlight across where it needs to, but it's not blended super well, and I think we can use a speed paint to kind of get that going a little better. There we go. Okay, now we can do a little bit on. Oh, if I can find it. A little bit on the yellow, not a lot. Gotta be real careful about getting the colors out of this one before using it. Okay, last but not least, some red. And I'll go with this poppy red, I think. Although I need to do something for the little guy on top also. Now, what speed paint will work for that? I wonder. Maybe that bright red could work? Or familiar pink? No, I think that's a little too much. Hmm. Maybe this slaughter red, I think. Doesn't seem to be quite as vibrant, which is good. I think what we need to do is just make sure it's a bit watered down. There we go. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Oh, we're getting there. I think the last thing we're going to really need to do is do this mask as well. That one should be pretty easy because we can just kind of go over with a gray. Kind of work it out from that. Not really sure what we'll do with this mask, but it'll be interesting. There we go. All right, I think I'm just gonna getting some of those highlights and stuff in now. Upgrade brush. Okay, that's pretty good. Just a little bit on a dry brush on top just to kind of accentuate that a little bit more. Honestly, we have a pretty solid demon face over there. I think we've pretty much called the blue guy mostly done. There we go. Okay. Speed paint does so much good blending for you. You don't even really have to do anything yourself, which is really nice. Here we go. Highlights on the red there. Pretty easy. Some highlights on the yellow. Just trying to get on the inside of these tiny little designs there on the head. There we go. Oh, such a tiny little detail there. Here we go. Nice shiny yellow face. Now we gotta just put some of those highlights back in. Remember, we're not going all the way and covering every little tiny centimeter of area that's here. We're trying to leave those shadows in midtones by themselves. There we go. Very important stuff of highlighting, but exactly, illusionist. The honestly the most important step. Okay, pretty good. Now I can highlight the little babby on top and that guy in the middle. I think we're pretty much done. There we go. Just getting back in those highlighted areas. Just so it can push a little bit of contrast between the lights and the darks. Make it really stand out a lot more, because that's going to be real important when you are on the tabletop. Because if you think about it, when you're standing so far away, over-blended stuff just tends to blur together, and we don't want that. We want people to be able to look at our army and be like, wow, look at that cool contrast from the middle. Be able to see that from pretty decently far away, ideally. Okay, now let's get this little baby. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. Ribs. Again, the most important part, making sure we got the posterior highlighted properly. Excuse me. All right. Suppose one last go didn't hurt too much. And we're going to take all those same colors and mix in just a little bit of ice yellow. That way we can provide some nice little highlights here and there. The final kind of highlights, some little shines on a lot of this stuff. And ice yellow is just bright enough that can make for some really cool effects. And keep things kind of warm and not too uh, not too cool and pale in the highlights. Had to take all, no worries. Welcome back. We're just jamming along. putting on some of these final highlights. I'm find an offline version of this stream, like on and off here. I love the paint job and those little gremlins, so I try to replicate them in mine online. So we are going to, as we do with every one of these streams, we go and take it and put it on YouTube. And I think YouTube, if you, I'm not sure if it requires a subscription or something like that, but it does allow you to download videos, so you can check it out while offline as well. So usually takes a few days to a week for these streams to go up on the Parabellum YouTube channel. But you can find all the old ones up there. There we go. Okay, let's try the red now. Thank you. No worries. Oh, Shikigami, hooray! Well, if you see the link also in the chat thing, I don't know if you've used a affiliate code or not before, but there is, if you use the code 10%, if you use the code Walter's Workshop, you can get 10% off. So, not a requirement, but definitely nice to get a little discount. Okay, now we mix a little bit of that demonic yellow with that white. With that, well, what was it? Icy sands, sand, ice yellow. Well, ice yellow, I guess. Get a bit of shine on the back of his head there. You know I'm not going without highlighting that butt. There we go. There we go. Okay, lastly, pardon me. No, it's not the best, but just coming back down from whatever it was that knocked me out for almost 2 weeks. There we go. Okay, I think all the skin is pretty much good to go on most of these folks. Now, we just need to do, I'm going to do some gray, some lighter gray on the mask. Whoop. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to work it out. Start doing some stronger gray in there. Making sure not to go way too far down into the recesses or anything. There we go. It's getting there. It's looking creepy. That's okay. Yeah, it's certainly looking real creepy. Hmm. I'm sure what we'll do with the eyes, but we'll do something. I guess we gotta start getting on these horns and stuff too now. And the teeth, of course. I'm gonna go ahead and do this desert yellow for some of these teeth here. That's not too bad. Question is, do we... suppose the question is whether or not we want to go with kind of yellowish horns. Keep them kind of black. I think doing red eyes for the little yellow guy is a good idea. Luckily, a thin layer is really all you need for that. And then I think yellow eyes for both. Our blue guy and our red guy, I think, is going to be a good move. I think for this little guy up here. Hmm. Now for the horns, do we just stick with the black? Go a little brown with them, maybe? I think black may be the move. Maybe do yellow. Kind of a darkish. Hmm. Maybe a reddish brown works pretty well for the horns on the little guy. I think kind of maybe doing an orangish brown for the guy down here might work out. For this one though, I don't want to keep it as is. Kind of digging that. What I'll do is I'll actually do really dark gray with that blue that I was using earlier. I think. But just working in towards the top. That way we can just do kind of a grayish color. It still has a little bit of difference there, but not too much. All right, let's do these eyes. Okay. Get this dude's little teeths. Since you're doing the highlights on the teeth here, it's likely a good idea to make sure that your paint isn't too wet. You don't want it to spill into the crevices. Oh yeah. I see that final bright yellow. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now I'm gonna get a real small brush because these teeth are kind of teeny tiny there. There we go. It's a nice glowy, toothy grin. And just because I want to go a little bit of the extra mile, I'm going to take that ice yellow again. Do the final little. Polyps in the eyes. I really want it to look like those things are glowing. And you don't have to go that far on it, but I like the little bit of a detail. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. No, it's not the right move, but that's okay. Okay, now we're just trying to get the where the horns are sticking out just a little bit. Some people will put and do kind of a darker element on the point of the horns and then go back into lighter. And I think that that's a perfectly valid way to go about it, but I tend to prefer when they are brighter towards the tip, especially because I take a lot of darker pictures with like black backgrounds and stuff, so it makes them easier to stick out a little more if I do it that way. But this little guy, I think I'm just gonna make his horns black. Okay, now finish up some of these highlights here. I typically advise don't going right into white, except for the very, very tippy tops of your highlights. T-Rex don't care. How's it going? You got a ton done for 3 hours of brush time. They were just slow. I mean, it's one of those practice things, you know. It's and kind of learning the techniques of how you can kind of, I don't want to necessarily say cheat, because it's not really cheating. You know what you're doing, I guess. Um, but definitely, the more you practice, the quicker you'll be more comfortable with being able to just kind of do stuff, if that makes sense. Um, but and kind of just, especially too, if you kind of plan out a little bit of how it's going to look, that'll help too. But definitely just a good bit of practice, and as time goes on, because that's the other thing is like, you know, I was talking to somebody at one point. I was like, man, I know I can paint better than this. So I was just kind of frustrated with something I had painted, and I was like, I know I can paint better than this. It just wasn't coming out of the brush, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm sure most of us have all felt that at one point or another. I was like, I really wish I could just paint consistently to the level I know I can paint at. And then my friend was like, well, there's only one thing you can do to solve that: practice. And it doesn't necessarily mean I am like doing exercises or drills or something. I'm just painting what I like to paint. But the thing is just doing it more, you know, making sure I have some dedicated time to paint at least, you know, once or twice a week. It makes such a huge difference. Hmm. Not too shabby there. Let's see if I can get the screen. But I appreciate it, T-Rex. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good weekend. Just gonna get a little bit of green skin just to put on the base and kind of give it a little bit of color. We're basically just gonna stipple it on. We're not gonna do anything like too crazy. But just doing a little kind of funky stippling will give it the illusion of a lot more texture than there is on there. There's already decent texture on there, don't get me wrong. But instead of dry brushing, like a lot of people tend to do with textured paints, I think stippling goes a long way. It looks a lot better. Put some under his butt down there. There we go. So you put some nice little texture in there. Works out pretty well. Okay. Look at the nice blood. Thanks. I appreciate Fox. Oh, look at those little creeps. I know, right? They're such funky little dudes. I really wanted to paint a blue one with some yellow glowiness, so I had to like stick it out for this big guy here. Um and let's see, we are in terms of like ready for tabletop. I think this is pretty good. But I think we can do something a little better. I'm gonna get some white highlights, I think, on the mask for sure. That'll elevate things a good bit. And then we'll see how it goes from there. Where white. Like I said, I don't typically use white a lot, so this is ancient stone. Done lost. See, that's what happens when you don't use it that often. Hmm. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, not quite, but close enough. Not quite white, but brigade gray should be pretty close to what we need. So I'm pretty sure. Oh, nope, actually, never mind. There we go. Found the matte white. We're going to go for that. Okay. And make sure that your brush and your water and stuff is really clean from if you're using white too, because every tiny little bit will get in there and you don't want that to happen. Okay. Now I'm just trying to put the whites where I think they're gonna highlight the most. So kind of up above the eyelids there, and then over towards the sides of where this is there. It'll be good. We can put a little bit under the, not a lot, just a little bit to kind of accentuate the eye a little bit here, because it's kind of a recessed area still. I'm definitely gonna get the nose and up here as well. Lastly, but certainly not least, let's get these teeths. That's pretty good. Okay, now we can get some red on those eyes. That little head thing. Hmm. The question is whether or not we want to do something glowing on the inside of the eyes there or not. Hmm. Part of me's thinking no. Hmm. Not too shabby. Hmm. Okay, there we go. Hey, Creature Crate, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for the follow. Oh, and Hamburg Tech followed as well. Appreciate you guys popping in. We're just doing some quick, dirty Shikigami. For the new, well, I guess not the newest faction anymore. Hey, Hackathon, what's going on? That's a quick Shikigami. Yeah, they're coming along all right. Not too bad for about 3 hours. Not too bad. Okay, just slowly waking up. No worries, I get that. All right. Ugh. See if we can get a little bit more highlight on these horns here, and I think that might be about where I'm gonna start calling it a day. Okay, I think just to be safe, we'll do something. These little Orbeez. There you go. Made some nice little jewels out of the thing on his head, whatever those are. Hmm. Overall, I think we're doing okay. Hmm. Not really a whole lot else I can think of to do. Maybe one more final little highlight on the yellow guy. Okay. Well, I think honestly that's about pretty solid for a quick session of painting ready for tabletop. We got some nice greenery on there. Essentially, we're working with 3 different layers. We're working with a shadow, a midtone, and a highlight. You can definitely see it down here. Shadows, midtone, and then the highlight right there. And that's essentially all you really need to make good tabletop quality minis. Definitely be able to see it down here. Shadow, midtone, highlight. Especially with these guys, because they're all pretty much just one color and, you know, basically just naked. So All you gotta do is just put some details in on some of the fun places and whatnot, and then you're pretty well good to go. Let me actually go back through one more time, just do a quick spot check. There you go, got those teeth separated. Maybe. Keep that as a hole in the mask instead of... else. I think that's a little better. Yeah, the eyes show through a little bit. There we go. Not too shabby. For a quick 3-ish hour paint. Honestly, we can't really complain too much about that. That's worked out pretty well. Alrighty. Well, the last thing we had to do, we were planning on doing, was checking out who won the Colors of Conquest for the Weaver Courts. So I think we'll go ahead and take just a quick little fiver for that. And then we will be right back and show off who won this past month's Weaver Courts competition. So don't go anywhere. Alrighty then. I think it's about time to check out who has won the Colors of Conquest for February, which is all Weaver Quartz. Okay. We're gonna hop right into it, but one thing I'd like to go over first is what is the Colors of Conquest? And normally there's been a slight change up this month, but normally this is how the Colors of Conquest goes. Typically, you paint your conquest and then you just post online with the hashtag Colors of Conquest and miniature painting, and be sure to tag the Parabellum account if you can. Tag the Parabellum account, and you'll be automatically entered to win either a $50 voucher or euro from Parabellum for the first place winner. But then there are 9 runner-ups, so there's a good chance if you're just posting consistently, you'll get some vouchers for the eShop and get yourself some more conquests, because, you know, why not? That being said, this past month, and there are some extra rules on it there and whatnot too, but you can check it out at at the Colors of Conquest page, which I'll drop in the chat here. I'm really excited to hear your overview on the contest. This is my first paint contest we're participating in. Oh, that's awesome too. Actually, I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, every month they do it, and it's for the entire Conquest range. This month in particular was for specifically the Weaver Quartz, and it's really kind of a departure from what they've normally done in the past, and but it seems like there was some great turnout. And I'll show you who's all won in that here in just a moment. Actually, before I do that, let me try something here real quick. See if I can show off the rules and competition stuff first. Okay, without spoiling all of that. Okay, so for basically 3 months since the Weavers have come out, they've been doing and collecting all of the Weaver Quartz miniatures that have been painted online, and the deadline was Valentine's Day, just a few weeks ago. And so, but they had different categories this time around, which is not something that they normally would have done. One was a playable army, which means a character in 3 regiments. One was the Koila or a Sky Draga, either one. Then a single model or a 4-figure infantry stand without Drakes. So you could do like the Shaunaha Shi, you could do the Morshi, or you could do a 4-figure infantry stand, something like that. An infantry, cavalry, or brute set. So that means 3 stands, essentially, from a box set. And then last category they did was the First Blood Warband, which includes a Shaunaha Shi, 4 Kern Skirmishers, 4 Skaha Hunters, 1 Kran Guardian, and 1 Skyla Dancer. So, this is the first time they've done something like this, which is kind of interesting. But everyone who wins in this in any one of those categories gets a Founders exclusive. And those Founders exclusives are typically labeled from 1 to 900 or so, depending on how many they do. They're limited edition. And so these winners are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those numbered pieces for the Founders exclusives for the Weaver Quartz. So, without further ado, why don't we check out the winners? All right. So, the category winners for the last argument of King's Weaver's Army, Bonaparte Paint Studio. It got 3 different units and a character. Absolutely lovely basing. And this is what we were kind of talking about earlier when we were painting the Shikigami. Look at the contrast. You can see where these bright colors are pulled out and where the shadows are in this picture, right? Let's see if I can get a close-up of it. About as close as I can get. but you can see where nice and like in the dark recesses there and in the wood and things like that. And especially here, it goes dark, mid-tone, then highlight. And that is exactly what you want to see on the tabletops. Like having a nice strong contrast like this is so good specifically for that. So, hey, this Mechanic Games, good to see you. We are just checking out the winners of the Weaver Courts Colors of Conquest. So congratulations to the Last Argument of King's Army winner, Bonaparte Paints, Bonapartist Paint Studio. My apologies. All right, the next category is the Sky or Coila Driga. And the winner is James Schaefer, 1800. Now this one is just gorgeous. Absolutely lovely. The blends that James has going on in these purples and blues in particular, and you can see just how nicely blended the shadows into the highlights are for all of this. This is really, and I love the eyes on the flower petals here. Very unique. Very, very cool addition there. I wish I had thought of that. I haven't painted mine yet, but we'll see how it goes. But really, really nice. Oh, this one's yours. Oh, so you had a different username, so I didn't know. Well, congratulations, man. T-Rex is so good. I just figured that a lot of the times these winners will watch back the clip later on or something, so I always try to make sure I talk about it, but it's so cool that you're here. Congratulations. This is such an awesome piece. Like I said, I'm real jealous. I didn't think of doing the eyes on the flower petals. That's such a cool little like idea. And yeah, the colors are excellent. I love the bright green and orange and the blues and the pastel kind of purples. And then going into these like reddish black speck here too. Really, really cool color scheme. So I have to make sure, I have to look online, see if I can find, I don't know if you're painting any more weavers, but I hope you do, because if you paint a full army like this, it's gonna be nuts in the best way. All right, well, congratulations. Did you get into see the other angle shots? They're on the Glass Display Discord. I have not, but I will make sure to go and check that out. And for anyone who isn't typically isn't aware, there is an amazing Discord that we have for Parabellum, and it has an entire section there called the Glass Display, I think volume 2, but you can go in there and post all your Conquest stuff, and it's such a awesome community that's super supportive, and it's just a really cool place to be able to show off Conquest to folks who like Conquest. So hey, Dinomaster, it's such a pretty model. I know, right? Well done, T-Rex. All right, for the single model, Jim Wakes with the Oberon. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the proper way to say it. With Oberon, because that is his name. It's not the Oberon. But the blending on the metallics up here is gorgeous. I absolutely love that kind of like purplish red into the gold. Really, really nice. Very, very smooth blends all over this thing. So, and the colors are great too. I like the reds going into the yellows. You know, because you have the flame here and the nice glow in the center there. But it still kind of goes out into these kind of greens and turquoises. I think that honestly, this is probably my favorite color scheme of the ones I've seen so far, including mine. Mine, not so much. Hey, Awkward Panda, good to see you. Yeah, this is a really nicely done Oberon, for sure. So congrats to Jim Wakes. And next up, we have an infantry, cavalry, or brute set. That means 3 stands. And the winner is Paratazi. Paratazi has been sweeping a lot of Colors of Conquest here in the past year or so. He's probably taken a third of them. I just don't understand how Paratazi's brain works. Because always the basing is just insane. for all the stuff that he puts together. Like you can see it's even cut right down the middle there, so it fits perfectly, but you can still remove it. It's crazy. But he definitely builds up a lot of verticality and honestly works in so much onto these bases. It's crazy impressive. I would be terrified to play with a lot of these though. I feel like they'd be very fragile. Been here just lurking. Oh, I appreciate it, Panda. But also, as usual, Artazi's painting is phenomenal. Love the blends and stuff that he gets going on these things. Just so nice. And also, overall, the composition is really nice too, because you have these yellows and oranges here moving into the blues and purples, and those are perfectly complementary for each other. So, well thought out. I think this is the last one, but for the First Blood Warband, it goes to Poppy Paints. Here we go. We got our current skirmishers over here. We got our Ska Hunters. We got one Scaly Dancer, one Cran Guardian, and one Shonahas She. And I love, particularly the Cran Guardian. It's got that very like white, ashy style of wood with kind of like the cherry blossom colors as well. Really nice. And that's one of the things I really like about the Weavers too, is that they can really push into this like this style of just fantasy that's almost alien. So you can get a lot of these funky purples and greens and like neon colors almost. So really nicely done. Excellent work. Congrats, Poppy Paints. And one thing, we'll get into some of the honorable mentions too, because I want to show those off as well. And not a lot of people got to see those, but they're really cool. But as a note, I know that a lot of people, have been entering and posting stuff online outside of Weaver Courts for the past month. Don't worry, they have been collected, and basically this coming month there's going to be a lot bigger of a pool for them to be going from. So, let's see. Just take a few look at a few of these here. Oh, I can't. They're too small. Well, maybe. There we go. See, like I mentioned before, Paratazi goes crazy with that verticality on these bases. It's insane, but looks phenomenal every single time. And Bonapartist as well did one of the Sky Dragas. Excellent looking oranges and stuff in there. Really nice. And Ulverbite. Love the red going on there. It's very, very fall colors. The Brimblecomb. Again, going with that verticality. And really nice, just kind of fantasy. So the toadstools and all that stuff in there. Really cool stuff. This one was particularly impressive. From Tom Tom Paint. Really nice colors going out through here. I love these colors. And putting an entire tree on this base is crazy. Excellent work, though. But yeah, I'll drop a link to the chat here. And you can check those out at your leisure if you'd like. But we had a pretty good time with the stream. I think we got, honestly, a lot farther, a lot quicker than anticipated. I'll show these off again one more time. But do appreciate everyone popping in to check out this group of Shikigami. And the broadcast will be put back up on YouTube very soon. So you'll be able to follow along and check it out again if you'd like to see it. And next month is going to be a little up in the air because we're going to be at Adepticon. So I think we might be doing an Adepticon stream. So be on the lookout for that. But also, again, be on the lookout for our to post your stuff online for Colors of Conquest. Again, it's free, and you may win and get some extra free minis. It's a win-win. So I am going to take a look and see if there's anyone working on some conquest we can maybe raid into. Just another painting streamer here online. So we should try to share the love if we can. But I appreciate everybody popping in. And I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. And we will see you next time. The stream love that she got me so far. Thanks, I appreciate it. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how other people paint them up. It's going to be interesting. So, all right, you all have an excellent weekend, and we will see you hopefully next month for the next Conquest stream. Have a good one.